Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hogsty. Junior Galette is now in the house at Redskins training camp after leaving the Saints. Breeland has hurt himself and gotten suspended on the same day. But the big news is training camp, and we have Robbie here to tell us everything he saw when he was there for the last 2 days. All that and more on this week's episode.
It's the Hogsty.
That good? Tight? Yeah. All right. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. This is Alex talking to you. Sean is out sick. We all wish him well, as well as Kelly. It seems like something must be going around the internet. It's some kind of bug. But we do have Robbie Dead-Eye Duncan back here with us.
What's up, everybody?
And, of course, Steve. Steve is here as well.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Glad to be here.
All right. So, guys, let's start with the sad news. I always like to get the bad news out of the way first. Breeland injures himself. Robbie, you were there. Did you see it go down?
I did, yeah. He wasn't having a good practice before that injury either.
It looked like a torn ACL to me, that photo.
Yeah,
Ooh, man.
It looked really bad, yeah. Deshaun Jackson juked him a couple times in one-on-ones.
Did his leg fold up as badly as it looked in the photo that went around on the internet?
It happened so quick, but it looked bad. Like, as soon as he went down, I saw him grabbing his knee, so I was like, "Oh, man, this is it."
Yeah, there you go. Breeland gone for the season.
Well, welcome to Redskins training camp, everybody.
Yeah, it looked awful. I mean, and then as soon as it went out and the video went out, you had all those online doctors loving to say, "Oh, he's done for the season. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that." You know, I'm not a doctor, but I watched the video too online, so I think it's just erectile dysfunction. You know,
I'm gonna leave
1 out of 5 players struggle with that problem.
I'm gonna leave that alone. I mean, Bashad might not appreciate you linking him to that. That's all I'm saying. He's not going to come on the Hogsty now that you accused him of having erectile dysfunction.
Well, I'm more.
That's why we're
nothing
the
about him.
unofficial
It's
source.
Yeah. Well, the weird good news that comes out of this, and this is, your Redskins version of good news, when 2 bad things happen and they work out in a way. He had to serve a 1-game suspension week 1 anyway. Sounds like the injury kind of overlaps that, and the NFL's not going to tack that game on to that sentence doesn't get tacked on once he's healthy. So that's weird in a way, isn't it, that it just kind of worked out for him.
Yeah,
sort of a silver lining.
The suspension was, in case everybody's concerned that he has backtracked again, the suspension is as a result of last offseason's misdemeanor marijuana possession arrest. And he got cited for a misdemeanor, and the 1-game suspension comes under the substance of abuse policy, the new 2014 substance of abuse policy. So this wasn't a surprise at all. I'm surprised it took so long. It must have been that the court case, that the criminal case took this long to wrap up. That's probably why it came out when it did. So that's what's going on.
Yeah,
with now
I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. A 1-year delay in the NFL's punishment.
Well, it's because I have not looked up the case
Me
from
too.
a year ago. I've forgotten all about it, quite honestly. But it's possible that they maybe charge him with something greater than what he pleaded to, and it took 9 or 10 months to wrap up. That's not uncommon with a criminal case at all for it to drag on that long. So
yeah,
that's probably what it is.
The way I'm going to look at it is, I'm a half, glass half full kind of guy. I'm going to look at it as these unknown corners that we have in camp right now are getting the reps that he was going to get. You got guys like Justin Rogers, who's taking the slot, the nickel corner role now that Breeland's gone. So, it's sort of a good thing in disguise, where we can kind of figure out what we have in these other guys when we kind of have a good idea of what we have with Breeland right now.
Well, yeah, I think the other good thing is that Breeland sort of took responsibility for it when the suspension came
Yeah.
out, he sent out a series of tweets. I don't have it in front of me, but the gist and the nutshell of it was, it happened. It's over. We're gonna move on, and that was kind of the tone and tenor of his tweets was that. And he said he was immature. He's done a lot of growing in a year or so. I'm all for giving him the benefit of the doubt. He hasn't screwed up twice.
Yeah.
So
The notion
Yeah.
I got from the beat guys, a couple of them responded to his tweets too. I think it was Kime saying if anybody knows Breeland from through the season, he is a lot more mature than he was when he got here, and he's one of those guys that's bought in.
Well, I
So
think the light bulb.
I'm not
Yeah.
I
worried.
think the light bulb kind of went on for him because he had to cover Des Bryant one-on-one that one game. He became kind of a quote-unquote player when he really wasn't before. He was just some rookie that got thrown into the mix, and who nobody knew if he was going to be good or not. And all of a sudden, he's covering
He
Des Bryant.
stepped
And he
up
did
on
well.
the field and off the field, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that kind of clued him in that he's a legit NFL player and he needs to not screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thought anyway.
Well,
Let's hope.
yeah. Anyone got anything else on Breeland?
Other interesting note, I guess, you about talking about Justin Rogers getting reps at nickel. The rookie safety that we drafted, Kaishon Jarrett from Virginia Tech's been getting reps at slot or the nickel corner as well.
Really?
So that's something to
Interesting.
keep an eye on.
Did
Yeah.
he do that in college? Do you know?
I don't think so. I think he primarily was just a safety, but
I wonder how if he's got the speed to be a
mean-
nickel corner.
we'll find out.
Well, if
I didn't
he's
really-
competing for that last spot, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he does well in nickel, then he'll make the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. At least for until Breeland gets back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess the other news, the better news in a way, is the Junior Galette news. Former New Orleans Saint. He had some trouble down there in the Big Easy, and they let him go after signing to a $40 million contract the year before, I believe. Is that
let's
right?
let's give everybody a little bit of background on Junior Galette. He's 27 years old, born March 27th, 1988, born in Haiti. So he's another one of our Haitian contingent, with Pierre Garçon and Jean-François. I'm blanking on the name. Help me.
I think that's Ricky
Ricky
Jean-François.
Jean-François. Thank you. Sorry there, Ricky. He was an undrafted free agent in 2010, signed by the Saints. He's 6'2", 258. He didn't stay in Haiti very long. His parents moved him when he was an infant to New York City, which is where he went to. He went to high school in the New York City area. Went to Temple for 2 years. Was suspended for rules violations in his junior year, transferred to a D2 school called Stillman College, and that is where he finished out his college career. Now, the trouble he got into, the problems are this. There's really three things. Number one, he was accused of attacking a dancer who asked him for cab money. He was charged with assault. The charges were ultimately dismissed. And it's important for people when you're evaluating criminal conduct to remember that if someone was not convicted of something, he's not a criminal, okay? So the charges were dismissed. We don't know the circumstances of it. I think everybody is obligated to give him the benefit of the doubt when he was charged but not convicted. So that's number one. Number two, the thing that most people know about, he was accused of hitting a woman with a belt during a fight on a beach. There's video out there on the internet. Maybe we can link to it on our... you know what? Let's not even link to it. Forget it. I don't want to link to that on our website.
It's disturbing.
Yeah, it is. And the video shows a large African-American man, in a confrontation
it's
with,
him.
Yeah, they say it's him. He's in a confrontation with a number of people surrounding him. One point, he takes off a belt. He starts swinging the belt wildly. A woman approaches him, and he smacks the woman with the belt. Now, his attorney has denied that is Galette in the video. So he does not concede that point. We don't know if that is in fact him. The NFL is investigating. I assume the local authorities are investigating.
I will add to that,
Yeah.
though, Steve. Apparently, there's an Instagram picture that he took not long before this brawl went out where he's wearing a lot very similar to what the guy in the video is wearing.
Really?
And, yeah, so it's kind of damning in that sense. But I will add, I've seen the video. I mean, the guy in the video is big, but he does not look like he's in NFL shape to me.
No, he didn't to me either. He didn't look like he was really a pro athlete.
No, but I mean that's just my observation.
He was a big guy, had a gut. He wasn't defined, muscle wise. So that's the second incident. The third thing that has happened is that the Saints cut him. The contract, by the way, you mentioned was 4 years, $41.5 million, signed in 2014. And the Saints cut him just, July 24th, I believe, despite the fact that they're on the hook for a bunch of guaranteed money and they're going to take a cap hit. That's also despite the fact that he was voted team captain.
I just heard...
Go ahead.
I just heard the numbers. It was $17 million cap hit over 2 years.
Yeah. So we don't know what...
that's a big cap hit.
It
for
is.
a
We don't know
player.
what would happen in the locker room. What we can say is that Scott McLuhan has said that he met with him for 2 hours. There were tears shed. Gillette said to the media that all he needs is a chance. So whatever he said to McLuhan, McLuhan bought into it. Jay Gruden bought into it. Presumably he had an explanation for the video, one way or another. Now, career stats. This is where we get to the football stuff. For a career spanning, since 2010, 128 tackles, 31.5 sacks in 5 seasons. He's been a starter since 2012, so it's 2 years as a starter. And he's pretty consistent in his numbers, 40 tackles, 12 sacks in 2012, and then 45 tackles and 10 sacks in 2013. So that puts him at kind of a 2 to 4 tackle a game type of guy, and 1 sack, every game or so. That's kind of what we can expect from him. Robbie, what do you know about Junior Gillette from a X's and O's standpoint?
I haven't watched a lot of his film, but from what I've seen, a little bit, he is very diverse in his pass rush. He's got a lot of moves. He's really good at getting low. He gets low and turns the corner real well. There was a clip, I think it was Emmanuel Benton, I think it's his last name. He's a beat guy, and he tweeted a Instagram clip of Gillette versus Joe Thomas, and he made Joe Thomas look silly and just beat him right for the sack. And I mean, it's one rep. Joe Thomas, he's the best in the league. But you're not always going to be perfect, of course. But he definitely shows a sign of explosion, and he shows a diverse repertoire of pass rushing moves, which is definitely different than what Arakpo had. Instead of just trying to bull rush the guy every time and run around him. I'm excited about what he can add to our.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. So is he our starter then over Trenton Smith? You think if all goes well in training camp? I know he didn't practice the days you were there, right? He was not.
No, he was on the side where I couldn't see him getting worked out by the trainers. But he's in the end he will be our starter, I think. But they're not going to hand it to him. I think they're going to give Trent Murphy and Preston Smith every opportunity to earn their stripes on that.
Do we have too much? I wonder if we have too much depth at outside linebacker now. We've got two. I'm not going to pee in the Cheerios here or anything because if you put the guy his personal problems aside, he's clearly a good signing for the team from a performance standpoint. He's young. Mm-hmm. He's proven himself for 2 years as a starter. But now we have two second round draft picks, neither of whom are going to start. Assuming this goes well, neither of whom are going to start this year. At some point, when are we wasting a second-round pick? That's all.
I'm going to answer your question with 2 teams to look at and compare to in that sense. Seattle and New York Giants, when they were winning the Super Bowl, they had a stable of pass rushers and guys that could get to the quarterback, and it paid dividends. I mean, they dominated the Patriots' offensive line, who was a very good offensive line back in that time. And it works wonders for your defense. Seattle, they have Cliff Averill, they had Brandon Mebane, the tackle. What's his name? Bruce Irvin. They got tons of guys that can get to the quarterback, and that's what makes their defense so good. They can do easy, simple, plain coverages, keep guys behind, keep everything in front of them. Because they know they have a good pass rush that can get to quarterbacks. So in this sense, you can never have too many good pass rushers. Plus, injuries happen all the time, and you need depth.
Yeah. The thing that excites me about this is just I really hope we can see Joe Barry get creative with all four guys getting out on the field at the same time in some situations.
Yeah, remember?
I mean, the opportunity for that is just incredible.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
I was just remember how the Giants had that package.
Right.
They called it NASCAR, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I remember the term. I don't remember what the package was. What was the package?
Was they had Justin Tuck, O.C. Umenyiora, Jason Pierre-Paul, Michael Strahan. They did it every now and then, even before Michael Strahan retired and then after. But they had all their DNs lined up, rushing the quarterback on like 3rd and long.
So if we're doing that in our case,
it's basically
then you'd
a
have
4D end package.
Yeah, you'd have Paya come out of the
speed on the
game,
inside.
Right?
Yeah, in that sense, if I had
Hatcher.
to guess how they'd line it up, I'd say Kerrigan and Gillette would be your outside guys, and you'd have Preston Smith and Murphy inside. And you can do a lot with that, just in my opinion.
So I guess this may spell trouble for Trevardo Williamson, right?
Yeah, I think Trevardo Williams might be the odd man out. I think Jackson Jeffcoat, at least last year in the opportunities he got, he showed off a lot more and took advantage of his limited amount of reps.
So I guess what we're saying here is we're giving a cautious Hogstye thumbs up to Junior Gillette because we really have no choice but to trust McGloin and Gruden that they interviewed the guy and they know what they're doing. You know, Jason Hatcher made a big point of saying to the media that he thinks that the locker room is better this year and that he said something like we're just going to surround him and help him or something like that.
Terrence Knighton also played with him in college.
Oh, okay.
At Temple, and he was a big supporter too. He's going to be a mentor to him as well. You know,
I don't really, I gave you a little bit about his background. I don't know if he came from a economically challenged background or not. Even, I presume that his parents did not have a ton of money if they immigrated from Haiti to New York to find their kids a better life. So I'll just roll with that probably. And this may be just a case of a guy who has had a tough background, a tough life, and had a little bit of trouble adjusting to the real world, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And maybe this getting cut and seeing his career flash in front of him was a wake up call for him. Let's hope.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, let's hope.
I mean, and in the end, he's only signed for a 1-year veteran minimum deal, so it's not like we're really hurting ourselves.
If it blows up,
it's low risk, high reward.
Yeah,
I'm excited about any kind of move where it's a low risk, high reward like this. There's a lot of potential there.
I'm excited because he's young. If he was an old guy who put up numbers, that's not. I'm not down with that. But he's 27. He can, if it works out, he can stay with us for a few years, improve our pass rush.
We just replaced Brian Arakpo basically for 1/4 the cost is what we did.
Yeah. Now you said he's got better moves than Arakpo, right, Robbie?
Yes, he does. He's got a spin move. He's got that dip that I mentioned. He reacts to what the lineman does, and instead of just Arakpo doing his one move. And not countering.
Did he truly just have a speed rush and that was it? I don't want to dwell on a.
He had a speed rush and a bull rush. He'd try to run around a guy use his athleticism to get around him, but a lot of times you'd see Arakpo, he'd just run too far upfield and he'd just take himself out of the play. And then there are other times where he'd try to do a little speed rush and turn it into a bull rush. But the tackles most of the time were ready for that.
I just have to wonder. I mean, what is the man just not listening to coaching? I mean, who knows? I guess.
Yeah, I kind of guess. I mean, I don't know how much it would have helped, but this Joe Kim guy that's here now, maybe he could have done something for Arakpo. But I mean, we had Coach Baker last year for Kerrigan, and that worked wonders for him. Well, didn't do anything for Arakpo.
Who knows? Arakpo's gone, so good riddance to the guy. Where is he? Is he in Arizona?
We just need to kind of move on from
Tennessee.
him.
Tennessee. Okay. I wish you well, Brian Arakpo. We replaced you.
Yeah, I don't have any bad feelings about him. I mean, he just kept on getting hurt, right? So move on. Well, and speaking of moving on, let's talk about the big thing that happened.
Oh, but wait!
Was,
before you do that, Alex, we forgot a news bulletin. Ryan Kerrigan signed a contract. We didn't tell people that.
You're very right. We should quickly hit that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Third highest paid outside linebacker.
I didn't mean to, but I didn't want us to
It's
transition into training camp before we hit that. Yeah, he signed a 5-year extension, and I do not have notes on this, folks. I want to say it was $57.5 million. Maybe does that sound right to everybody? I think that was
ballpark.
Close enough.
Ballpark. So that puts him in the top. I think top 3 in the league outside linebackers. And that's going to take him through year 10 of his career with the Redskins. Presumably all goes well. I'm going to just roll with the assumption that Bruce Allen knows enough to load the cap hit in such a way that if Ryan Kerrigan, something happens to him, it's probably more like a 3-year deal, and then he could be gone, I would assume. But I haven't looked at the numbers.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
anyway,
5 years. I don't think Bruce Allen's ever signed anyone to a 5-year deal here. So that is,
he signed people to longer contracts, but they've had voidable years in them, And so he's I think he's probably the first one that got the full-on, big-time, second year, second contract, big contract is Kerrigan.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Kerrigan is our first-round pick that we've extended like this since Chris Samuels.
Dear God,
well, that
that's
explains
so
a lot.
I mean, it really is.
It
Well,
is.
technically speaking, LeVar Arrington signed that contract. LeVar Arrington did sign a second contract, but that's what blew up and, caused the problems. So, I have to think that Williams hopefully is next. Trent Williams, one would assume. So
yeah, you gotta hope so. And then Morris and we got a lot of guys up for contracts.
Yeah.
But congratulations, Ryan Kerrigan. You deserve every penny you're getting because you are a monster of a outside linebacker and do just wonderful things.
Mm-hmm.
And except for Sharknado.
I've never seen the Sharknadoes, and I don't really plan on wasting my time.
I only watched the third one because I knew Compton and Kerrigan was in it. So
Did they get eaten by sharks?
no, they survived.
Thank goodness.
Nice.
All right, so let's we ready to move to training camp now.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, Robbie. I think you'll just kind of take the lead here, and we will just ask you all sorts of dumb questions. Sound good?
All right, so training camp. I had a lot of fun there for the 2 days. It was Friday the, August 1st, I think?
No,
was
31st.
No, Friday was
31st.
the 31st. I was July 31st, and Saturday the 1st of August. It was hot, of course. Training camp's always going to be hot, but, you deal with it. So, all right, let me go right into it. I did a blog post. You guys can all read that on our website at the blog section. But, I'm going to start off like I did in the blog talking about Robert, because Robert is always on everyone's mind when it comes to the Redskins, so let's knock it out first. Robert is looking really sharp to me. He is making much more decisive throws. He's not taking long in the pocket. Even saw him stepping up in the pocket here and there. He's looking a lot more confident. I think he's spent a lot of time really getting into the playbook. He seems to be like he really knows what he's doing now and not, playing like a deer caught in front of the headlights.
Is he giving up on improvisational Robert? And he, is he becoming, the pocket bound pro quarterback, or is he kind of half and half, or what?
Half and half. I definitely half and half. He had a couple plays where he did scramble, run around, but he wasn't scrambling to get yards. He was scrambling to find a receiver to dump the ball off to.
Well, and that's what we want. I mean, we don't want Robert just staying in the pocket. The guy's an elite athlete. We want him moving at some point. We just don't want him killing himself trying to gain 15 yards on a read option run all the time.
I agree. Yeah. And a thing I noticed Friday's practice, right in the beginning when they were just practicing handoffs, they were doing read option looks. Like Robert was handing it off, acting like he was looking at a D end, then he'd take off selling a fake read option. And then sure enough, not long after that, in 11-on-11, they ran a read option play. It really seems like he's totally bought in. Whether, I can't really say that was him who said he doesn't want to do read option anymore, whatever.
We don't know, yeah, who knows.
The fact is, they're running it, they're showing the look. I can't say how many times they will run it, but in the blog, you don't have to run it a lot, especially if we're going to have the running game that we're supposed to have, that they tell us that we'll have. And, you run it just to keep them honest and get a chunky yards here and there out of it. So, yes, Robert is looking sharp. He's looking crisp. The other thing I noted is that he's not playing hero ball like he tried to do in his first couple of years. Granted, this is practice, but I do want to see him in preseason game. But he's looking more like a manager. He's getting the ball out of his hands. He's dumping it off to the receivers, and he's not trying to find the big play. He's just getting it out of his hands, which is a good sign.
Now, what kind of contact did they have in the 11-on-11 when you were there? I mean, they were just in helmets and shells, right?
Yeah, Friday they were just in helmets. Some guys were wearing pads, but I think that was just their choice. But yeah, Saturday they were in pads. It was more like helmets and shoulder pads. Not a lot of guys were wearing pants.
So not full contact at all.
Well, see, here's the thing about that. When they're in shoulder pads and helmets, it's still full go. Like you're hitting guys. The only difference is you're not bringing guys to the ground, and it's more really just a way to try to prevent injury.
Okay. Now, do you think that Robert plays differently in those 11-on-11 drills, knowing that he's not going to get sacked?
That's a good question. That may be true, but he's still getting pressured here and there. You know, the D-line, it's not like the D-line never was getting pressure. They were getting in his face here and there. But he was doing a good job of getting out of his hands and getting out of the pocket to escape that pressure. So he's showing improvement to me. And like I said, he looks like more like a manager and not trying to play, be a superhero. Go ahead. You have a question, Alex?
Well, I just have a point on that. Really, if you look at some of his numbers, even in the years where Robert struggled, he actually does really well in those years when he's getting blitzed. His quarterback rating always seemingly was higher when the defenses were rushing 5 or 6 guys at him.
Well, that's the way he's played his entire life,
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch the Baylor film, he did the same thing at Baylor that he did in 2012 in regards to the passing game. He would he'd get the ball out of a shotgun or, out of a pistol type of, formation, and then he's looking downfield, but he's moving immediately, running around, extending the play. Only the difference is in college he could get away with that, and as we've shown in the pros, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, the thing that you're saying that excites me the most is that he's seeming like he's managing the game. Because when I think about what he did well in 2012, it wasn't big plays. It was a lot of games where he was thrown for about 200 yards, but he was completing almost every pass. And, you don't get a perfect QB rating in a single game by, airing it out. You get it by making smart passes. And that's what he did his rookie year. And it seems like he went away from it for whatever reason the last 2 years. The fact that you're saying he sounds like, or he looks like he's managing again is good.
Yeah.
Robbie, did he get 100% of the first team snaps?
Oh yeah.
No question.
He without a doubt, in my opinion, is the best quarterback out there. Surely, he's definitely the most talented. That's for sure. I mean, outside of the full team reps during the quarterback drills and throwing to the receivers, he throws a pretty ball. It's awesome to see in person. It's so crisp and smooth, tight spiral on the ball. It's really cool.
It's good to hear. Because I've always felt that he's clearly the best of those three. I think the statistics for Colt, Kirk, and RG3, tell the tale. On the numbers side, that he's been the best. And now we have your first-hand observations that show that he's probably the guy that should be starting. And doesn't sound like there needs to be a quarterback competition.
No, Matt, I don't think so. The only competition is between Colt and Kirk.
What's that?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not say there's no competition. There's a number 2, number 3 spot competition going on right now. Yeah,
Colt and Kirk have been swapping each day between who's taking the reps with the 2s and the 3s. And if I had to say who looked the best between the two of them, I'd say Kirk. But neither one of them
look good.
Neither one of them wowed me. I mean, Kirk had some good throws. Saturday he had a long bomb he threw to Crowder that was really pretty.
Well, y'all want some numbers? I'm always
go
out for numbers. I was curious as to the preseason stats for the Redskins for the ball handling players. I hate to say skilled position players because we have Robbie in the room. Robbie was certainly skilled. For the guys that hold the ball, what happened in the past 3 years? And last year, the quarterbacks, Colt, Kirk, and RG3 split the time. RG3 had noticeably fewer number of attempts. He was 13 to 20 attempts in the 3 games he played last year. Kirk was 35 of 54 which is about the same completion percentage. And then Colt wowed everybody with 72.7% completion percentage, 32 of 44 for 496 yards. And I think that just reflects that he was playing mop-up duty, there in the third and fourth quarters. So it doesn't really tell us much, except it shows that Griffin just didn't play much last year. I have to think that they're going to want to get him some more reps and game reps this year, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. His reps in preseason games are going to be very good for him. Really get a feel for.
He's got to get more than. You said he had 20 passes there. He's got to get more than that.
13 to 20. Well, if he didn't play in the preseason in 2013, but in 2012 he was 20 of 31 in 3 games played, whereas Kirk was 42 of 73. So even in 2012, he played noticeably fewer snaps. I just think he probably needs to play more.
Yeah.
There, but it's funny again because Kirk's completion percentage in 2012 was only 57.5% in preseason. So not that good.
My only question about the two backups, Kurt and Colt, is there any chance that we could see one of them cut before the end of the preseason? You only can have so many guys on your roster, and it sounds like we have a lot of other talent that really could deserve that last spot on the roster over a third quarterback.
That's a good question. I don't know for sure. It would surprise me if they went with only 2 quarterbacks.
Well, we'd have to have one on the practice squad if they were going to cut one of these guys. We can't just roll with 2. And we don't have a developmental arm in camp right now. Isn't it just those 3 guys?
That's true. Yeah.
So unless they bring somebody in, which they could, of course, you have to think that those 3 guys are it. Because, I think the team would be irresponsible to not have at least a guy on the practice squad.
They could still surprise us and go with that anyway, and they might see that they have, for just to make an example, a corner, since Breeland's been out, you need someone shined all camp and preseason that normally you probably would have cut had he not gotten those reps. Then you make a decision based off that. So you never know. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on to some other guys that impressed me. Let's start with Morgan Moses. Ladies and gentlemen, you want some Kool-Aid? I'll give you some Kool-Aid. And I have to say Morgan Moses has impressed me big time from what I saw in training camp. He has been getting exclusively the reps at right tackle, although I do know today, just from following what was going on, he took the left tackle reps with the ones with Trent Williams sitting out for the day just to take a break. But in his stuff that I saw a much more clean Morgan Moses. He showed good technique. He's looking a lot more physical too, especially in the running game. He's trying to really move guys, and that showed in the one touchdown play that he had on Friday, where it was a stretch play to his side, and he just mauled Preston Smith for a wide open hole right off of Moses' left side. And I think it was Trey Williams that took it to the house on that. I couldn't tell. It was a 30 number. It was either Williams or Silas Red. But he's really impressed me. Even in one-on-ones against the D-line, Moses did well. He only had one bad rep that I saw where he looked like the old Morgan Moses, where he just didn't move his feet enough, and he kind of just leaned on him and tried to just ride him along the loop. But Murphy got the better of him on that play. But on Saturday, he definitely had the better of Murphy on every rep. 3 for 3, showed good technique. Murphy couldn't move him, and it was very impressive to see this improvement in Moses. I'm not going to say, though, that he's ready to take the spot from Scherf yet. We'll get to Scherf in a minute, but he is definitely showing a big improvement from last year, and that fantasy that we spoke of last week in our preview for the training camp, like I said in the blog, it's looking like it could be a possibility, because even on Friday he was getting reps with the ones at right tackle, and Callahan's going to give him every opportunity to do that. It looks like.
I just hope that the fans out there understand what a really, really good thing it would be if Moses continues on this path and becomes a legitimate player, it really opens up options. I know you're going to get to Scherf later, but it really gives us opportunity to truly put the best guys in the best position if Moses develops. Maybe he spent a year, did his body look more developed and stronger and more physical than he was?
He looks big. He is a big dude. He definitely looks a lot bigger than last year too.
Yeah, because if he becomes what we hope he can be, I think it means a lot to the O-line, because we have Compton, who's marginal, shall we say at best, and if he's basically, his spot is taken by Moses at a minimum, who's even a league average performer, if not better, that really opens up options for us on the O-line, I think, right, Robbie?
Yeah, let me also add, Compton has not played any tackle from what I've seen. I think he may have gotten a rep here and there in one-on-ones at right tackle, but every team drill, he was exclusively at right guard. So I don't.
Did he play that last year at all?
No, he was. I mean, I think in the earlier years he was kind of like the swing lineman. He played every position, but since last year he was just a swing tackle. So
that doesn't bode well for Tom Compton, does it?
No, I don't think he's going to make this roster, because there's other guys that are showing up pretty well, like this dude. I mentioned him in the blog as well. Ty, God, I wish I heard his name.
It's something like
Naseki, I want to say.
At the end is probably. I bet you the end is probably silent. So it's probably
something in there is silent. It's got to be.
But yeah, this guy is huge. He's the biggest guy on the field, 6'8", 325, and he showed well in the one-on-ones too. He's a guy that I'm going to look at more, especially during the preseason games.
Yeah, you posted a picture of him, right, on our Twitter site, didn't you?
I believe I did. Yeah,
because he looked gigantic compared to everyone else.
He's huge.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's be honest. Our whole line's looking much bigger this year.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is what I wanted to ask you about, Robbie. Actually, because we've drafted and signed a lot of beef, and we went over there 40 times and all this stuff. It looks like these guys are much more maulers now. Yeah. Is it safe to say that we're kind of transitioning from the Shanahan era zone scheme to a true power scheme with these guys up front?
I would say just a true zone to a true power. It's going to be more a mix of both. I probably won't see as many outside zone plays, but more inside zone, like more tighter angle for the running back to hit. But we're definitely becoming more of a mauling, I wouldn't say pretty finesse style offensive line that Shanahan had, but more just grinders and maulers. So speaking of maulers, I'm gonna go right into Brandon Scherf. Let's see, Scherf is taking his lumps. He's looked good here and there, but he's doing well in what you expected him to do well in. He's doing bad in what you expected him to be bad in, and that's pass blocking. What I saw from him is it's not like he's not skilled at it. It's technique stuff. I saw him in his stance. He's real low, kind of hunched over. It's all his shoulders. Like when he kicks, he's kind of hunched over.
Tell the fans what you mean by kicks.
When you see a lineman tackle in the passing play, he's kind of kicking back and staying in front of the guy. In Sheriff's kicks, he's kicking more out to the guy. We kind of touched on this before about Sheriff. He kicks out to him more like a little slide out, and that puts him in a bad spot because it gives the pass rusher a easy inside lane to go straight to the quarterback. That's the quickest way to the quarterback, is that inside lane.
Okay, Robbie, let me make sure I can understand this from a fan perspective. What I think I hear you say is that the O-lineman needs to get himself set with a good base under him in order to absorb the blow, and he does that by setting his feet, maybe taking a step backwards even, but not lunging forward and getting getting unbalanced and kind of on top of the play. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Sheriff is just really unbalanced. He's hunched over. He doesn't. If you need your shoulders back, because it gives you a nice square alignment to the line of scrimmage. If you're square with your shoulders facing the line of scrimmage like that, the pass rusher only has one lane to go, because if you have that square look, it tells him that he can't go inside because you're ready for that inside rush. So that's what I think Sheriff needs to learn, is that he needs to get his shoulders back, be a little more square, kick for depth, and not out to the guy, and it gives the pass rusher a two-way go. He can do whatever he wants to get to the quarterback then.
So he's not getting set; he's lunging.
Exactly. What he really needs to do is just learn from Trent Williams. He's so patient and reactive to what the defensive lineman does instead of initiating the block. What you're taught as a lineman is react to what the defensive lineman does instead of making him react to what you do. You want to be patient and react. That way, you're not the one that's playing, catch up and trying to save yourself from giving up a sack.
Well, I think the perfect example, I think, for the fans out there is the classic film of Albert Haynesworth laying on the ground. Because in that play, if everybody remembers what happened, is Haynesworth made a hit, then he fell down and stayed there, and then the O-lineman stood there in a stance for about a second and just waited, and then when he saw Haynesworth was a dead fish, then he moved up to the second level. But I think in that case, the O-lineman absorbed the hit, reacted to what Haynesworth was doing rather than initiating it himself. That's
exactly
what you mean, right?
Exactly. It's all about quick feet, wide base, so you can it's easy to change directions and get to that spot that the guy's trying to get to. It's all about reaction.
I would worry about if he's leaving an opening there, guys exploiting that with a blitz in the regular season.
Yeah, if he doesn't fix it, it's going to get seen and exploited on film. These
Sure.
defensive coordinators, that's what they look for. Anything that can be used against you will, like a cop
Right.
or a lawyer. Right, Steve?
So yeah. So tell me, what battles did Sheriff have, and did he win some? Did he lose some?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Like I said in the blog, it's not like he was bad every time he was in a pass set. He had his good reps, and he also had his bad reps. Like I said, it's just learning to be consistent in your technique, and he could learn a lot from Trent Williams in that regard. Now, about the whole him being a tackle or not and moving to guard, if I had to guess if this move will get made, I say it will get made if Morgan Moses shows that he can be that right tackle. The writing is on the wall for it. Callahan is going to put the best five guys out there. And that doesn't mean it's regardless of what position you're playing. The best guys are going to play in that spot. Callahan's that kind of guy. He doesn't care what round you were drafted, how much you're getting paid. The best guy is going to be on there.
Well, and that's the way it should be. And I guess I'm really learning, that Callahan truly is one of the best. Is what it sounds like to me. Like we really are lucky.
I have to say, the improvement I've seen from Morgan Moses is a clear sign of that. It's unbelievable the difference I saw in him compared to last year. I know it's still early, but what I've seen is a very good, optimistic, encouraging sign to me in Moses too.
Yeah, hey, music to our ears.
Yeah, if you had to make a bet, are you going to put Sheriff at right or left then guard if that move
Doesn't
got
it have
made?
to be left guard? It has to be left guard, right?
Yeah, I mentioned in the blog that I think that Sheriff right now would be a better guard than Laval. So
it's a little early for this, though, right? You saw two practices. He's taking his lumps, like you said. He's adjusting. Not everybody can be Joe Thomas, day one, or Trent Williams, day one.
Exactly.
I would say I'm a little bit disappointed to hear that he wasn't a little better, but that may be me overreacting to the situation.
Yeah, and Callahan's going to get him. Callahan's going to get him right. If that means right tackle, then good. If it doesn't, he'll be left guard and he'll be good there too. I'm not worried about him not being a good player. He's going to be a good player. The end question, or the thing we're all wondering, is where that's going to be. And really the wild card here, like I said, it all rests on Morgan Moses because they're giving him the opportunity to take that chance and to take over that spot.
Well, yeah, that's like I said. If Moses pans out, there's a whole new world has opened up for us along the O line. It would really be good, and I'd be glad to eat crow that I've been spewing about Morgan Moses for months now. If he turns out to be a player, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm with you. It's glad to see he's not another Laribis kind of guy. So,
yeah, for sure.
Good segue.
Yeah, for that, I'm going to talk about the rest of the guys real quick. I'm going to just kind of spit fire here.
Sure.
Trent Williams was unbelievable. He's without a doubt the best guy out there on the field, other than maybe Deshaun Jackson. Regardless of position, he's just incredibly talented, and you can tell he's fully healthy, and he wants to get paid. He is playing angry right now. And it's awesome to see. He, like I said in the blog, he went against Kerrigan exclusively on Saturday in one-on-ones, and he won every rep. And he didn't just win them; he dominated them. The first rep, Kerrigan just did a normal rush. Trent pancaked him. Second rush, Kerrigan tried to do a little dip to get around the corner, and Trent punched him down again for a pancake. Plus,
is he just really solid technique-wise? Is that what it is?
His technique looked good to me this time around. I mean, yeah, you can see in the past years, he still had good technique, but he's mostly using his athleticism. But here, from what I saw, it definitely looked a lot more crisp and very patient. Like I said about him when we were talking about Sheriff, very patient. He reacts to what the guy does, and then he blocks him from there.
Does he have any flaws as a player?
I think the only flaw in him when he's healthy is that he has here and there he'll take a play off, but it's hard to say who doesn't take a play off. I mean, your offensive linemen play every snap on offense unless you get hurt. You don't get any breaks until you come off the field. So I understand that, but flaws-wise,
I can imagine on some of those big run plays, he's going, pretty far. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to get gas if you're a big guy like that running downfield all the time.
Yep. So Trent is without a doubt just awesome to watch it as an offensive lineman. Spencer Long, he was quiet to me, which is not a bad thing at all. I did see him do some one-on-ones against Stephen Paya on Saturday. Paya looked good too in that. I mean, it was a battle between both of them, but I thought Spencer Long had the upper hand in those matchups. He showed good feet. He was very good with his hands. And Paya, he has a hell of a bull rush. He really can move people, and I was really encouraged seeing Spencer react to that and really anchor well in that. So I think he's looking like our starting right guard, and there's certainly not anybody behind him that could take that from him right now.
So even though you hadn't seen any film of him really, you're now satisfied that he's a legit starter?
Yeah.
At least from what you saw?
Yeah. I mean, taking on a heavy bull rush from Stephen Paya like that, I mean, Gruden even said today in his presser that Paya is without a doubt the strongest guy on the team. So,
his bench press was he had 38 bench press or something at his combine.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Incredible.
He's a freak. So I'm encouraged by that. I do want to see Spencer in the preseason games and live game reps, but very encouraged about what I saw from him. I'm going to say Lichtensteiger has looked okay here and there. He's going against Knighton every rep, so it's a battle, and he'll get better from that. I did see him pancake.
He's
Knighton.
one guy who I personally don't worry about.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either, but
Lichtensteiger.
Yeah, he did pancake him one play in one-on-ones. It was nice to see. Josh Laribis is playing some center here and there, like they said he would. He's had a couple bad plays, but I don't think he's doing terrible. I wouldn't rule him out to be cut yet. But let's see, Eric Kwanjo. He's our project this year. I think he's very much like what Morgan Moses was, a little bit sloppy in technique, playing a little too high. But I do see the potential in him. He's a big dude too. He's very big. And I mentioned Ty Naseki, I'm just gonna say he is a massive man, and he stonewalls guys in one-on-one. So
is he stonewalling? Is he stonewalling guys one-on-one because he's got solid fundamentals, or is it just because he's just so much bigger than everybody, and it's only preseason and nobody's going full out anyway?
Yeah, he was fundamentally sound. I mean, I wouldn't say he was perfect in his technique, but he used it well enough, and obviously had the size and strength to handle guys pretty easily. So, like I said before, I want to see him in the games so I can get a good look at him from there. So really, those are the guys that are sticking out. There's a couple offensive linemen here that I didn't really see much from, like Jacoby Cofield. He had one play where he jumped off sides and Callahan made him run a lap. Willie Smith he practiced on Friday, didn't see much from him, but he sat out on Saturday. I think he had some kind of injury that they were making him rest out for. So other than that, that's basically what we're looking at on the offensive line. In general, or to sum up, I'm going to say that we do look better overall. I think we're pretty deep, and it's going to be a good battle on the bottom end to who makes the team for the offensive line.
Can you give us a real quick prediction before you move on?
Okay.
I mean, we have our starting five. We've got Trent, Long, Lichtensteiger, Laval, and then Scherf. Let's just go with Scherf at right tackle. For the sake of the argument here. It seems to me that what you're saying, I'm going to go with Moses as the swing tackle based on your on your view. But what do you think?
I'm going to say
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, Williams, Laval, Lichtensteiger, Long, Sheriff, Moses. I'm gonna say
Quanjo, just since he's a project.
I'm gonna say Quanjo. Yep.
That's 7.
That's 7. Then I'm gonna say Naseki, and then I will say.
We need a guard in there somewhere.
I'll say Laribas.
Laribas, didn't you just get done telling us that he looked bad?
Oh, I didn't. I said he wasn't terrible. I mean, he had some bad plays here and there, but I think he will get better. Especially
that guy's going to be the death of me. He really is. I just rooting for that guy year after year. I don't know.
I think that Jacoby Cofield guy is going to be a practice squad player if I had to predict.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's Robbie Deadeye Duncan's prediction based on watching practice. So, what else you got for us?
All right. Next on, we're moving into the skill players. If you haven't been looking at any observations at all from any of the beat reporters, then surprise, surprise, Jamison Crowder is looking like the real deal for a rookie. He
right.
Does not
that's what
play
it sure sounds like.
Yeah, he's not playing like a rookie. I mean, I don't want to. All right, I gotta kind of temper myself. He's, I don't want to.
This is me nodding. Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to drink too much Kool-Aid, but he's very good in route running. He drops some punts here and there during warm-ups, but I mean, you're not always going to be perfect.
Okay, I'd like to throw some stats out here for you at this point.
Sure.
To this point. Last year, wide receivers, 2014 preseason, leading receiver, Ryan Grant, 14 receptions, 165 yards. Second one was Aldrick Robinson. Neither of those guys, made a big impact on the season. Aldrick Robertson didn't even make it through the year. And you go back the year 2013, you've got Desmond Briscoe as our leading receiver. I think receiver more so than other positions seems to be a case of, the guys who are at the back end of the roster or are competing end up shining more than the established players. So I'm wondering if, while Crowder looked good, I'm wondering if he's falling into the Ryan Grant kind of trap, where he looks great and all of a sudden he disappears when the season starts.
No, Crowder's getting reps against the ones. He's been going in here and there. Swapping out with Andre Roberts in the slot and different spots there. He's getting reps against the top guys of the defense, and he's shining. He had an awesome end-around play that he took for a huge gain big chunky yards. I mentioned earlier the touchdown, or I don't think it was a touchdown, but it was a really long bomb from Kirk Cousins to him. He had his guy beat by, I'd say, 2 or 3 yards. And he didn't run a fast 40, but he looks faster. He looks really fast on field. Like it's
I think he's
speed.
super agile, right?
Yes,
isn't that what it is?
Very
he's not going to
agile.
beat Robert in a race in a 100, but he's very agile. I think.
He's not making it easy for Andre Roberts, I'll say.
How did Andre Roberts look to you?
Well, that's good.
Andre Roberts is looking good too. I mean, he's making really tough catches. He's always been a pretty good route runner. He gets himself open, but he just had trouble last year in catching it. And this year he's making some really tough catches. And he's been after practice working with Pierre Garçon on the jugs machine to really work on his hands, and it's showing. He's really taking this seriously and not letting Crowder get an edge on him.
I think he feels the competition.
He does, and it's like
That's good to hear.
It's like a boxing title match. You have to actually outbox the champion to win the match if it goes all the way to the end of the match, right? And Crowder although he's doing well, I don't think he's outperforming Andre Roberts. Roberts is
so Crowder is the Manny Pacquiao to the Andre Roberts Money Mayweather.
Yes. Roberts
minus the wife beating and all that stuff, of course. I think Andre Roberts is an upstanding citizen.
This is definitely more exciting than an hour or so of Mayweather just running around Pacquiao. I'm gonna move on from them. The strong safety position battle, I wouldn't quite call it a position battle. Duke Iheanacho is our starting strong safety. I'm pretty impressed with what he's been doing. He might become one of my more favorite players on the team.
Right. You just love his tape work on the shoes is what it is.
The tape work on the shoes is cool as a fan, but and also as a fan, his love for fans is really cool. I mentioned this on the blog. He ran up to near where I was on the sideline, grabbed a kid, had him stretch him out. It's really cool. He engages the crowd.
It sounds like Duke is a guy who has a lot of inherent leadership qualities. Sounds like he's a guy who, once he's out there and he's healthy and he's playing, he's motivating the people around him. And in the secondary, I think that's really what we need. Maybe he's a guy who's going to be able to keep everybody in line, keep them moving in the right direction.
Yep.
If we could just get a secondary out there with guys who know where they're supposed to be, I mean, my goodness, that all by itself would be a victory.
Yeah, he's a high energy guy. You can tell he loves what he's doing. Very passionate. He was making plays too. On Friday, there was a play where Silas Red had a nice run. Got a big chunk of yards, and in comes Duke out of nowhere, punching the ball out of his hands, and the crowd goes wild. And it was a great play by him. And right after that, he takes his gloves off and tosses it into the crowd.
I'm so happy to hear about that.
Yeah,
he's a guy I'm rooting for. So I'm happy.
I'm rooting for him too. He's a from what I've seen of him, he's a great guy and very humble. He doesn't he doesn't think he's above what the fans are, and he loves getting feedback from them in that regard.
Because I got to be honest, I had kind of written him off in my head.
I did too. Yeah, I did too. I was kind of pulling for Jerron Johnson, but
how did Jerron Johnson look on the field?
I mean, I don't think he was doing poorly, but he just didn't flash to me like Duke did, and I mean, which is not a knock on Johnson. I think Johnson is going to be a good strong safety for us too, but just Duke is the one that's outperforming him right now. There was
God bless him.
I posted a video on Twitter of them doing a tackling drill, kind of doing like open field stuff, and Johnson wasn't doing very well in that. I think it was the receiver Ross. I can't remember his first name, but Ross juked him pretty good, and Johnson said, "Hey, come back up. I want to do that again." And Ross beat him again. So, Johnson's got some work to do. And plus, he was hurt today, I understand. So, that didn't help him.
Do you see him contributing at free safety at all? Or, I mean, do you think he could have the range for that?
Who, Johnson?
Yeah, Johnson.
Yeah, I do. I actually, on Friday, I saw a couple plays where him and Goldson had switched positions. Goldson was at strong, more up in the box, and Johnson was on the other side, more back further as a free
It's
safety.
funny you say that, because am I wrong in thinking that Golston has strong safety experience and he doesn't have – he almost has more strong safety and free safety experience? Am I just imagining that?
He plays free safety, but I think he's very much like a strong safety in that he's a good tackler, not much of a cover guy. So I mean,
which is what we need back there, for goodness sakes. We need somebody who can cover. I guess that's what I was getting at is, our free safety. That made I guess I'll go on record and say that was our biggest weakness last year.
Oh, yeah.
At least on defense, by far.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nothing was getting. They were not giving up anything deep. I mean, they had the one play from Crowder, a couple other long passes here and there, but
yeah, I mean that's going to happen.
And I made this note too. John Kahn pointed this out as well on his observations from yesterday's practice, and I'll say I'm kind of just piggybacking off of him, but it's true. Joe Barry's defensive scheme very much seems like he wants to keep everything in front of them and not get beat deep. Make them force them to do the check down throw to the running back or the underneath route with the receiver, and then tackle well and swarm to the football. And that is very much like what Seattle does. You can see the influence there in that. And I made the note, if this defense up front does what they're supposed to do in stopping the run and getting to the quarterback like they on paper look like they can do, then this defense could be a pretty good defense. I mean, I don't think we're extremely talented in the back end, but with the front,
we may be good enough talented up front. Whereas if the front seven specifically, I think Paya and Knighton and Hatcher can get some pressure up the middle, that may really alleviate the burden on a secondary that maybe league average, call it.
So my question would be regarding the whole defensive scheme. When we watched Haslett play or coach the last couple of years, I always felt like there was something just at the core of his scheme that didn't make sense. It was all about this edge pressure, and nothing else he did helped the edge pressure at all. Do you feel like this scheme has like a cohesive plan in place at this point?
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, like I said, Robert, a lot of his throws were underneath routes and right across the middle, and nothing
check
very
downs.
deep.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely focusing on that, and you can see that there is a plan in place for that, and I think that's why Scott McLuhan signed Junior Gillette. You want as much people that are good at rushing the quarterback on this team to make our back end better. So yeah, I think that's a very good thing that they have set up.
You didn't see any tight ends running free down the field. Jordan Reed, 40 yards down the field by himself. Anything like that?
No, but I will say Niles Paul has looked good. He was.
What do you think between the battle between Niles Paul and Jordan Reed? From here's my perspective on it. I mean, the health aside, I think Niles Paul has developed over the past 5 years to the point where he may be a more complete player than Jordan Reed. I think Jordan Reed is kind of a receiver in a tight end's position almost, whereas Niles Paul, I think, is a little bit better blocker. He's not relying on separation in the same way as a receiver. Jordan Reed is trying to out-athlete people.
Yeah,
whereas Niles Paul is not doing that. He's just trying to beat people.
Here's what I noticed with the tight ends. A lot of the times in their offensive formations, they were running 2 tight end sets, and it wasn't who you thought would be lining up in those sets. It was Logan Paulson and Niles Paul, and they either both line up on the same side. One would be on the other side, and the other on the other, of course. But you didn't see Jordan Reed in those lineups. And then someone mentioned earlier that they're kind of just going with the fact, hey, we know we know that Jordan Reed's not a good blocker, so we're not going to try to mask that. We're just going to put our better blockers out there on tight end that can also catch the ball if it's thrown to them. So that's a good sign. We all have craved for 2 tight end sets since Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez kind of took over the NFL for a little bit. So
yeah, we've been asking that since Chris Cooley and Fred Davis were here. So
yeah,
that's been a while.
So yeah, it's an interesting little thing they got going on at tight end there.
What'd you see at running back? I noticed you posted that at one point you saw Alma with the 2s.
Yeah.
Did that mean anything to you?
No, it didn't mean anything. I just pointed it out because I thought it was weird and I didn't expect it. I mean, you can give Matt Jones reps with the 1s without making Alfred get reps with the 2s. Yeah. Maybe they just needed someone real quick and they said, hey, Alfred, go run these couple plays real quick.
Now my impression of what you wrote about Jones was that he had a little bit of happy feet. He's a truck. He's a beast physically, but he had, and what I mean by happy feet is these running backs who aren't definitive in the hole and they don't hit the hole immediately. Because you said he hesitated, and I've seen that time and time again at lower levels in the NFL where you have a running back, he's a little bit hesitant to hit the hole, and then the play's over. Is that what you were seeing, or am I exaggerating?
You don't want that from a big guy. You want him to go right into the hole.
Right. I saw that one time. I think he showed good vision overall. It was just one play where he had a hole open on the right side, and I think the play was designed to go on the left side because he was looking that way, and he just missed it. But he is a huge running back, and guys just kind of bounce off of him. Although Duke Iheanacho, he also had a great play against Matt Jones, just came up and popped him right in the at the line of scrimmage. But Jones does not stop moving his legs. He's a grinder, much like Alfred Morris. I'm very excited about the 2 of them. I think they're going to be a good 2-headed monster, ground and pound type thing, or thunder and thunder, like we mentioned way back in a couple of our earlier.
We don't
podcasts.
really have a lightning. Did any of the lightning guy? Did Chris Thompson do anything?
Thompson, not really.
Yeah. Was there any backup that stood out?
Trey Williams is sticking out, by the way. Trey Williams looks very electric and shifty. He had a couple good runs from what I saw. So him versus Thompson versus Silas Red, the 3 of them are going to have a good battle on their hands all preseason. So I liked what I saw of Trey Williams too. I'm going to kind of just touch up on a couple more things. I respect your all's time. So kind of just spitfire here. Trent Murphy and Preston Smith, they are both basically the same kind of player. I think Preston Smith is a little bit more physical than Trent Murphy is, but neither one of them has an edge over the other in pass rushing, I don't think. Both are pretty good against the run. Martrell Spate, our rookie from Arkansas, he's shined in the special team stuff from what I saw. The linebacker position stuff, he's done okay in. When they did the open field tackling drill, he got juked badly by Andre Roberts. So, but I mean,
it's gonna happen.
He's a rookie. He's a rookie. It's
Yeah.
not that big a deal. But I liked what I saw of him and I liked what I saw from him in special teams. So that's a good thing. Our D line, haven't really talked much about. I'm not really worried about them because I like what we have in them. You could tell that they are going to be a problem for offenses this year. They're getting in the backfield here and there. A lot of guys were swarming to the football. Secondary is improving, from what I could tell. David Amerson had a couple good plays in one-on-ones against Pierre Garçon. He's right on top of him, but Garçon ended up making the catch anyway. But I mean, Amerson was right on top of him. He couldn't have done much better. Mentioned Colt McCoy and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has that edge there. But in general, I do think we are a very competitive team. A lot of guys are working really hard and competing their asses off. So it definitely has a lot more energy to this practice from the previous training camps that I've seen. Guys are
Well, hey, let's hope it continues. Let's hope that we don't suffer any more injuries than Breeland. and things kind of continue on an upward trend. The first game is August 13th against Cleveland, so we're looking forward to seeing the ones do well in the first quarter.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
I'm
will be
excited
there.
about that.
I will be there, like I've mentioned. One day where it is open to everybody for the Texans. They do have that lottery where I think everybody that was part of that lottery can go. But that's it. So I'll try to go to the day that is open to everybody, and I'll try to get a good spot. I can just tell it's going to be a crowded day.
Well, we'll all be watching that on HBO too, so we'll all get some nice
great point.
stuff to
Great
look
point.
at there. Yeah, I'm excited. Football season's finally here, and thank goodness. Because let's be honest, how many more position group breakdowns could we have done?
I can drone on and on about the CBA for hours on end, but I'd personally rather just watch football.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. Well, great stuff, Robbie. Great work this weekend. I think just I didn't see one negative response to anything you put out there. So I'm just really impressed by what you did. And if you didn't catch what Robbie did, then you probably weren't following at the Hogsty on Twitter. And shame on you, listeners, because you should be doing that. Everything's on Twitter, except for me, because I'm old and don't do Twitter, and Steve the same way.
And me.
Yeah. But we are also on Facebook. A lot of our stuff also went to Facebook at, is it Hail the Hogs?
Hail to the
Hail to the Hogs.
Yep.
Our Facebook, Hails the Hogs. Thank you for everyone
Why is
for
our
listening
Facebook
tonight.
not the Hogsty? I'm just curious. Shouldn't
That
our
was
Facebook
apparently
be
taken.
the Hogsty? Oh.
No, it was apparently taken, and I don't think it was taken by like a football thing too. I think it was, well, I don't
perhaps
really wanna go into it.
pig salesman.
Farmersmeat.com.
Yeah, pig salesman. Well, great work today, guys, and thank you to the listeners. And I hope everyone has a good night out there. And we're going to get some more real football news next week.